doesn't it?
We're trying to get away.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Carl.
No, I appreciate it.
So, do you want to tell us who you are, what you do, who are
Yeah.
Pleasure Trails?
Who are Pleasure Trails? Plural. I am Pleasure Trail. I make electropop. Do I look at the camera?
You can look. You can break the fourth wall as much as you want.
I'm Pleasure Trail. I make electropop music, and I have an EP coming out on Friday. Today, when you're watching this, it'll be out.
So, do you want to tell us a little bit about EP? What was the journey from everything to make this?
The journey from everything to make this was a journey. Wow. And the first track that's the kind of main track that will be coming out with the EP was after being at a gig at the old hairdressers, actually. And I kind of felt really isolated. And it kind of is a similar feeling to a track that I've already put out called Falling in the Woods, which is kind of this OCD isolation-esque kind of thing of, you know, how you personally fit in with the world and how the world interacts with you as a person, and this idea of like everybody is somebody but everyone else isn't, almost. Yeah, so it's kind of drawn off that, and I was at this gig and I just felt so isolated, like this isn't resonating with me, this feels really samey. Probably just going through like such burnout as well, and being like everyone else is making things and I'm not, and everyone else is really enjoying these things and I'm not. So it kind of came down to this, like, right, well, that was kind of the experience that started Pleasure Trail as a whole, was like, right, I'm going to stop making punk music, indie music, rock music, whatever it would have been. Always had a bit of a hint of electronics and stuff in everything I'd been doing prior, but never as focused. And then I basically just bought a drum machine and a keyboard and kind of went for it. So that's kind of the first track, is about this isolation. They're kind of trying to break out and even start your own, not scene, but kind of like own thing. I feel like scenes can be really kind of cliquey, and then there comes very like territorial stuff, and I don't know, it feels very messy, and I just don't have the time for that. So I just kind of want to do something a little bit different, which is actually what the track was originally called, and then I kind of changed it because I was like, oh, that's kind of cringe actually, but who knows. But it's now called Wasting Time, so that's track 1. Track 2 and 3, like we were kind of chatting about before, kind of link into each other. This kind of like relationship dynamic, a very, what was the word I used before, like specific instance, like not just a kind of like standard relationship of, right, okay, you know, we've been going out for however long, and it's not working now, so we're just going to end it there. This was like we never really should have been together, and we're going to keep going. We're going to keep going. We're going to put it out there really for 3 years, and then it kind of, everything all comes out in this kind of one go, and it's, do you know, this kind of like falling point, and it's maybe one of the only songs that I've made that's like quite angry. And it goes into He's Got It, which is a lot more, it kind of builds it back up of like, right, I'm doing quite good now, but still having that connection to like this person in the past, and how do you navigate that, and how does this all tie together in my life? How does this, again, like this first track, how does this affect me? How is, because it's all about me. And then this fourth track, Mask for Mask, is kind of like, it started out as a very kind of silly idea of like, I don't know, maybe not feeling quite represented. And I think maybe, hopefully, maybe not speaking for other queer people, but like this feeling of, right, okay, self-discovery, I'm not straight, oh my God. But then having this image of like, well, this is what a gay person looks like. So you need to be this. And this was definitely like 10, 15 years ago, when like your Creed Eye guys, that's a gay person right there. And it's like, right, well, I'm not that. So you're going through this whole exploration. And then actually it's kind of like a full loop of, oh, this is exactly who I was 10 years ago. Exactly the same, but gay. And it's like, cool, okay, so you don't need to change who you are to be something or someone else that you are. And it was kind of like poking fun at that, but also kind of tying into like the, not the seriousness, but like that kind of phrase, mask for mask, is very much used on a specific gay dating app, which is, that's the way to put it. Like, I've actually never used it, thankfully. Thankfully, I've never actually been on Grindr. I've managed to dodge Grindr for 15 years. But yeah, it's quite toxic. Yeah, that's the word. It's definitely like these like straight acting guys who are very insecure. And I think there's like a freedom of appreciating, like, right, okay, I'm presenting how I am, and that's maybe traditionally quite masculine, but I'm not doing it on purpose. Whereas there's also jabbing into those people who are like, no, it needs to be like mask guys, you can't do this, you can't do that, because that's then seen as feminine. And it all comes down to like, not to get too political when we're about to have some bruschetta, but like the patriarchy and misogyny and how that's all kind of like intertwined. So yeah, that's that. But I wrote Mask for Mask. That was like my first time collaborating with a friend to write a song, and it was my friend, possibly Jamie, but they call him James, was in the studio, and we were just kind of writing it out, and I had this song, and I was like, I just really don't know how to do this. Like, it seems so samey to everything else. Like, I know it's going to fit on this EP. It's going to be the final track, but how do I close it? And he kind of sat down and was like, take that out and put this in and do that. And I was like, yes, sir. And then that was that, and it was done.
You just needed that outside perspective.
I just needed, yeah, someone to come in and be like, this is how I would do it. And then that was it. So, yeah.
And is this your first ever EP release? Have you ever?
As Pleasure Trail. First ever thing as Pleasure Trail collectively. I used to be in a band, and it was more production stuff. I kind of think I was getting into it to do the production sides of it. And my friend who was singing, she was kind of like this whole visuals world creating kind of thing, very intense, really cool as well. And yeah, we'd released a couple of EPs and stuff at that point. However, it was definitely more of her ideas, and I was kind of just helping get to that point. And she's still kind of going and writing her own stuff and doing it, and it's really cool to see that, you know, steps that she's going. But I think she wanted to go more rock punk, and I wanted to be very less rock punk. So that was that. And then kind of like COVID-y time, we had all the time in the world, so I wrote like 3 albums, which never really seen the light of day. I mean, they were put out, but they were never like put out kind of thing. So first real big boy adult projects.
And how would you say those previous projects influence what you've got coming up now? Is there any kind of thought processes that have lingered, or creative thoughts that have kind of stuck with you since?
I guess it's just learning, like, how to use the software. Like, it's all self-produced, and again, like with friends and stuff coming in, like it's not big budget anything, so it's like everything I've learned came from that point. And even the marketing elements of it as well, it's like putting out 3 albums and however many EPs up until this point has been, right, who do you contact about this and who are you talking to about that? And I'm at a level now where it's like, okay, starting to really establish who I am. But I think that would have been so much more difficult if I didn't have all that prior experience. And I've actually got like press sheets and all this kind of stuff that like anyone that I'm chatting to is like, oh, I've just started a band or whatever. I'm like, there you go. Like, this is giving you like a year's head start, because it's just all this info that you gradually learn. And it's like, this would have really helped to kind of be given this thing which has a million email addresses on it. Exactly what to do and say to them.
The ultimate cheat sheet of do this, and
yeah, hopefully if your music's good, then it's gonna work. So
let's pause it here. We'll have some food and then we'll come back.
Delicious dinner. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So what have been the inspirations for Pleasure Trail? Where does your kind of musical sound come from? Where your influences as a person and as a listener?
So I kind of grew up listening to punk rock kind of stuff. I'm saying like punk rock. I did actually like go down the Ramones and like Descendants kind of route, and like every kind of wee guy or whatever, Nirvana and whoever else. But it was mainly like kind of Alkaline Trio, Blink-182, Dream Day esque kind of stuff. And then that kind of went over to more indie kind of side of things as well. I think there was for some reason like a real shame in pop music, like, and I think maybe it's just like kind of this internalized kind of homophobia of like if I like pop music, then people kind of know that I'm gay. So it's one of those ones. It's like no. Although a really funny story is I used to actually really like the Beatles as well, and I didn't know that there was a genre that was rock. So people used to be like, "What music do you listen to?" And I'm like, "Oh, I listen to like really old music." And they'd be like, "No, but like what kind is that?" And I'm like, "It's not like classical." Like, it's not the same. It's not the same.
I mean, our generation's classical now, unfortunately.
Yeah. But no, so that kind of like Beatles, like Wilburys, and then into the kind of punky stuff. And I think they just got to a point where like really idolizing the Glasgow kind of music stuff. And then it kind of just felt really, really samey at a point. And I think that maybe was like, not to be like, I am my own inspiration, but I think just really hitting that wall of like, everything's just noise and I'm so overstimulated and burnt out. I want to do something that's different to me. And that was where the kind of pop side of things came in. And I think really being able to accept yourself as well and be like, oh, like this pop music's really good, actually. And it's okay to say something is pop. Pop just means popular.
Yeah.
Like it's a genre, but it just means it's like appreciated by the populace kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that kind of acceptance really helped inspire me because then it really let me do stuff I never would have done. I would have just written songs and focused maybe more on the lyrics and then being like, right, well, here's a guitar line and here's a bass line that follows it. Maybe there's a little groove in there on the chorus. And the drum beat, as like drums is my first instrument. So it's like, right, the drums is maybe more elaborate. Cool. Like that's the song done. Great. Whereas now it's like, okay, I'm building up with drum machines, but there's so many different sounds of a drum machine and there's so many different sounds of a keyboard. And it's really inspired and helped me kind of grow that way as well. But I think in terms of just putting like people down, a lot of like Glasgow kind of people as well. Like we've been speaking about like Roller Disco Death Party, and pre Roller Disco there was a band Crash Club who one of the guys was in. That was good. That was maybe one of the first times I'd heard electronic music, and it was a bit like, oh, this is really cool. There's electronic elements, but there's the guitar and the bass, so it feels familiar, so I can kind of get behind it. And then like being in Glasgow and like collaborating with people like my friend, possibly Jamie, Simon SPX, Casino, who's doing headline support. Like all of this is really cool just to meet these new people and be like, what are you doing here? Like show me how you did that. And then you're kind of like taking little bits from different people.
Your community and your surroundings kind of directly influence what you're putting out there.
Exactly. And it's kind of the same with like the listening. Like I know we spoke before about Johnny from the drums who does he used to be in loads of synth pop bands, and then when that was kind of at its peak, he went, "No, I'm just going to make an album with a guitar and a drum machine and a microphone and like a tambourine or whatever." And it was like he couldn't play guitar, but he took it from how he would play a keyboard. So I've kind of done the opposite of like, how would I have played a guitar? Now I'm going to program that onto the keyboards, kind of thing, and build it up that way. So instead of layering a guitar up, you're layering these different synth lines.
Okay. So you're building it in your own way.
Yeah.
That's unique to you.
Because I'm not a keyboard player. I think that's the thing. Like whenever people come into the studio to like visit or work on stuff, and they're like, "Oh, you've got so many like cool analog synths," and it's like, "Thanks, I actually can't play any of them. I don't really know what they do, but here we are," kind of thing.
They're fun.
It's fun, and they make funny noises. Whenever there was once, it was me, Jamie, and Simon all sitting together, and Simon had like it would have been like Serum or whatever up, just making these crazy sounds, and me and Jamie were just kind of working away on like whatever else we were doing. And Jamie just like takes just a big sigh and he's like, "Simon, can you actually stop making those horrible noises?" It's just like fair enough. Like
just pull it there.
yeah, like, let's stop at this, yeah. So
and you even with your influences and people surrounding you, what's kind of the coolest part about being a solo artist? Because at the core of it, you are doing this project on your own.
I think in a really selfish way, I get to say what happens. And I think fundamentally that's kind of what everyone maybe wants. Is I know for me, I've always wanted to be the person at the front. However, how do you explain being a session musician to like 15-year-olds who love Oasis and just want to jam out and write songs? And it's a bit like, oh, it's all about me, but you're going to be in the band. So I think when I'd kind of got to that stage where I had friends that were like, oh, I just want to do session work, I just want to do this, I was like, right, I can actually use this to my benefit and have this kind of live band, but it's still Pleasure Trail, it's me. And then taking that, and then the next step up is, right, actually, you guys can take a step back. It is just me. And what was the question?
Your favorite part?
Oh, my favorite part of being a solo artist is I get to see what happens. Pretty much, I get to do it on my own terms. Essentially, is I can write my own songs. I don't need to wait for, oh, we were gonna go to the studio, but I'm not really well, or oh, I've got called into this shift at work. It's like, no, I can do it in my bed. Like I can literally just write a song on my laptop, wherever I want, on the train going to work. Like, cool. I don't need to worry about what other people think. And you can still collaborate in that solo element of my friend Jack, who's produced this new EP. You know, he came in at the studio, but we've done quite a lot of it remote as well, where he would just send me voice notes in his car, would he be like driving to work, listening to the mix I done last night. This is what it sounds like. This is what I've added. What do you think? And it's like, that's the element. You don't need to navigate so many people. It can be quite direct, which I think has been quite good. And as well, if you've got a vision, there's no one else that you need to convince. It's like, right, I want to wear this today. Great. I don't need to tell 3 other people to dress similar so that we all look consistent. I can just do this and that's fine.
It's you.
It's me, yeah. So,
And in turn, what's the hardest part about being a solo artist?
trying to convince people that it's like a real thing. Like trying to convince people like, oh, you should book me for this show. Yeah, I'm not going to bring a guitar though. And they're like, right, so what are you doing if you don't have a guitar? Or like, what are you doing if you don't have a band? And it's like fair assumptions, because I think a lot of people just think, oh, we're going to this gig, right? Whose band is playing? The first show I done where it was just me, and I turned up and I set all my synths up and like had everything kind of sitting ready, and the wee guys that were headlining were like, oh, what band are you in? And I was like, oh, it's just me. And they were like, oh, well, we've never heard of that before. Like, we're going to make sure we come and see your set. And at the end, they were like, that was so cool that we didn't know that people could do that. But in turn, I still think it's really hard to book shows. And then even at that point, like we've been saying, like selling tickets, you know, it's probably really easy for 3 indie bands to sell out 100-cap venue, because there's 4 or 5 people in each band and they can sell 10 to 15 tickets each, and boom, done, sold out. Yeah. I know 10 people that will come to a gig. Great. Whereas it's like, okay, I'm putting on this show myself. I've got to sell 100 tickets. Okay, well, I'll bring a support in. So now it's 50-50. Like, okay, well, we've got someone promoting it now. Okay, so now they kind of get like, but it's still like 3 individual people trying to market this one thing, semi-niche thing, to 100 people, which is tricky. And like, it's selling well for where it's at just now, which I'm really, really proud of. But it is more of a challenge than it would be if I wasn't alone in it.
Yeah. And who are your favourite people that you've collabed with so far? And who's your dream collab? If you could have anybody.
Anybody dream collab. So far, visually, I've collaborated with my friend Mairead. She's done some videos for the first couple of singles. She plays guitar and sings in a band called No Bad News in Heaven. Who this kind of like...
Great name, by the way.
So cool. Yeah. I don't even know how to describe it. Like, I always would tell people that they're like a kind of like classic rock and roll band, but they're not. So I don't know why I've been saying that. I don't know. But it's like there's hooks, but like I done a wee kind of stint on drums with them recently and learning the songs, and I was like, it was like, what's the order of this? Like, what's the chorus? What's the verse? And I'm like, we don't know, we're just playing. And I was like, okay, that's really interesting. I actually quite, but it's really hooky, and there's like little lyrics and like melodies that kind of come in, and it's like, right, like I can get behind this. And then again, like following on visually, I've got my friend Ira who does pictures under Lade's Pics, and she done all of the creative direction for the Repeat It EP. I kind of pretty much said, I want a picture of me holding the iPod. That's the cover art. And then she was like, let's get the gay porn out. And I was like, okay, well, you don't need to ask me twice. So, and that was kind of how all the single artworks and stuff came about, and it was really fun. And then even the one of me like kind of lying in the makeshift bed with like the DS, and she's like, "Pull your shirt up a wee bit," and like little things where like she knows my inspirations, but like I wouldn't really naturally know how to get there. So she's like, "You would." I would think that you would like this, and it's like, I do like that. You are correct. So that's been really fun. And then in terms of like an audio point of view, I'd said my friend Jack had been mixing stuff, and really, really cool production ideas that I would never have thought of. He comes from like a jazz background, and I'm coming from this kind of indie punk background. So we're both trying to make pop music together. And it's like, he's thinking, oh, this is how it would work in jazz. So this is what I would do to produce it this way. And I'm like, well, this is how I would do it as like an indie rock musician. So this is how I would do it in a pop way. And it kind of definitely sounds very unique because of that. And then a collaboration coming out with possibly Jamie, and perhaps some remixes and stuff like that as well, under a similar name to Repeat It, will be the next kind of adventure.
Okay. And kind of, if you could collaborate with anybody, who would it be?
Possibly Jamie's ticked off. No. Probably, I mean, super like far stretched, but I guess that's the question, isn't it? Like, again, Johnny from the drums. I think even just being in that creative space with him could be so interesting. His story and the way he writes is really interesting as well. And it comes from this kind of community nurture kind of place, which I'd never really thought of before. And like his most recent album, which came out a few years ago, is maybe one of my favourite albums ever. And it's not an electronic album. It's more of like a kind of pop, but the tracks kind of like intertwine with each other, and it's just so like, to an outsider, I'm definitely maybe putting him up on like a pedestal of some sort, but like there's just something about it that really speaks to me, and I think it would be really cool to work, to do anything with him, to even just meet him, say hello. Yeah.
You've got coming out next is you've got Repeat It coming out on the day this is released.
The 10th of April.
And what's the background behind calling it Repeat It?
Definitely like this kind of like neurodivergent idea of being like fixated on something, and like the OCD thing of like being obsessed with an item. So it's like if a new song comes out and I really like it, it's on repeat, like the full day. Like you could, when I used to have like Spotify or whatever it would be, I would know by the end of the year what my top track would be, because it would be like, I know absolutely that I've played that song on repeat from waking up to going to bed for weeks, months straight kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it was coming from this like idea of like, I just love the idea, and I feel like people don't accept that as well, though. They'll be like, oh, a new song came out, oh, that was really good, cool, great, I've listened to the song now. Whereas I'm like, no, but I want to listen to it again.
Yeah.
I want to be bumping this all day, like it's so good.
If I'm not sick of it, I've not heard it enough.
Exactly. But then also tying into the OCD themes of my brain is actively telling me, you need to do that again. Like you actually need to do that again, because you didn't do that. You didn't actually check the sink or the taps or whatever it was. You need to do it again. So this kind of weird play of like really enjoying repeating actions, but then it also goes into a more sinister side of this can actually really be a detriment. So it's like, right. So it kind of flips on itself. And then there's the lyric, and he's got it where it's like, you think I'd like to repeat it. And when I wrote that, I was like, that's going to be the EP title, like that's going to be it.
It struck you there.
It just kind of hit, and then I could see myself with like the repeat logo on the iPod, and I was like, oh, it's like everything's coming up Millhouse. It's all coming together now. Here we go, boom, kind of thing. So that was quite proud of that one.
And debut headline for the Repeat It release is
April 25th at the Old Hairdressers, 8 p.m, featuring Casino and a special guest.
Oh.
I don't know if I can do that. Can I do that?
But yeah, thank you for coming over. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for a lovely dinner.
And we will see Repeat It when it's out. And looking forward to seeing the debut headline.
Everything else, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
obviously this will be coming out the same day as your EP.
Repeat it.
And where you've got the headline gig on
Self-promoting debut headline gig featuring Casino and possibly Jamie on the 25th of April.
and then they're just hinting at another project. Are we keeping that under wraps, or is that?
Yeah, because it's not done yet. I don't want to shoot myself in the foot with that. It's in my head, so it's hopefully going to happen.
But yeah, thank you for all your answers. Thank you for coming over.
Yeah, thank you for this lovely dinner. It's the most nice I've been treated.